we're very civil here. There's going to be no name calling, no insults, nothing like that, at least from our side. I am going to build a case in this stream today. Thank you for those of you just joining on YouTube right now. You're coming into the stereo live stream here. I'm going to build the case for you today, scientifically speaking, why the leftism and the entire philosophical foundation of that ideology is based on the perpetuation of and the continuation of mental illness. The ideas that they talk about, their perspectives, their views are actually all predicated on clinical diagnosed conditions called cognitive distortions. And we're going to go over those today. Let's see, I'm just checking the stream here. We are live on YouTube. What's up, Osis? Yeah, no, so we do Saturday normally, but we had to switch up to Friday. Switched up to Friday this week. Just a random crazy switcheroo over to Friday. Yep, that's right. Actually, well, funny story. I might get into why we had to switch over to Friday later in the stream, but for today, we're going to be talking about how leftism is a mental illness. We're going to talk about the Atlanta shooter narrative, and we're going to talk about how China is taking huge dumps all over the United States. Not just China, and it's not just the United States either. It's mostly Biden. It's, I'm getting some echo from you. Now I know what it sounds like to be a viewer. So grab a drink, ladies and gentlemen. Get your chin straps tightened, your helmets on, your jewel cups ready, and let's jump into it. Let's roll that intro. All right. Let's do a quick sound check on here. Chat, can we get a confirmation that you guys can hear Delaney? Delaney, say hi. Okay. Oh, actually, I don't think. Try that one more time, Delaney.
What's up, everybody? How y'all doing?
There we
It's
go.
me, Delaney.
That's what we got.
Oh,
I had
okay.
to.
Now y'all can hear me.
Remember that OBS problem we had on last stream? It was trying to fight back again this time.
Yeah.
Welcome, everybody, for the
no.
special Friday edition of the Weekly Narrative. We're going to jump right into it this week. The stream title, as you can see, is Leftism is Mental Illness. And I'm going to build a scientific case for you today using data, science, why that is the case, using logic, rationality. And we're going to take comments from the stereo viewers. If you want to join us on stereo, we're over there. You can follow me at Weekly Narrative. Join the chat room, get in the conversation, drop some voice clips, ask questions. I'm pulling up my show notes right now because I didn't do that beforehand. But while I'm doing that, Delaney, why don't you play that comment that we've already got in stereo?
All right, here we go.
Just want to be sure your voices are clear. So, are y'all woke or what? A working definition of woke and axe. How do you spell that? That's what I'm trying to find out through stereo.
I don't know.
Well, it just. I was gonna say, it depends on like who's defining what woke is. So to the leftists, we're definitely not woke, but to pretty much everybody else, we're very woke.
Yeah, I don't know. You'd have to define the woke for me there, friend. The problem with language these days is that it's so
Right?
Subjective. We don't know what you're talking about when you say woke. And I do spell ask, A-S-K, so that might answer your question there on that one.
Yeah, yep. We spell it properly. We don't go by the new dictionary.com's definition of ask. We don't
Was
do
that
ask.
actually a
We
new
don't
definition?
ask questions.
I think we joked about that in the last
I don't
stream.
know, maybe.
It probably did turn out to be a
Probably.
I
mean, they added finna, so why not add axe?
That's true. All right, before we
Chad is saying I'm very low volume, Jeremy.
easy fix, cranking her up.
Yep.
You're maxed out now.
Yep. Okay.
We're gonna jump
Can
into a
you hear
couple
me now?
stories. We're gonna jump into a couple stories of warm up here. Let me know if there's any adjustments that need to be made to the audio on the YouTube side here, folks. We're gonna jump into a couple stories of warm up, get the mind thinking, get some juices flowing here. This is
Get,
from. You guys are gonna love this one because we talked about this multiple times before. This is from MSN.com. Court judge linked to drag queen story hour charged with child porn possession. Is anybody shocked
uh-oh.
by this? Is anybody shocked by this one at all?
I'm definitely not.
So, from MSN.com, Milwaukee County Circuit Court Judge Brett Blome, a father of two with ties to drag queen story hour, was arrested and charged with possession of child pornography. The Wisconsin Department of Justice announced the 38-year-old judge was charged with 7 counts of possession of child pornography on Wednesday, a day after his arrest. Each count carries a maximum fine of $100,000 and 25 years in prison. Jesus, or both. And
Uh-oh.
Blom is the former president of the Cream City Foundation, which hosts Drag Queen Story Hour, a children's event in which drag queens read to children. Milwaukee mayor said that the allegations are alarming. It's a good word for it, alarming. Yeah. So we've made.
I mean, I'm not surprised.
And yeah, I don't think anybody is. We've made the case several times here that, we just talked about it literally on the last stream, that the next step after the transgenderism kind of phase with the left is the
Pedos.
pedos, yeah, the pedophiles,
The maps.
map movement, and
They're so
this is kind of a bridge between that. This is the missing fossil in that evolution, right? We're starting to see the link here between those two movements. No Windows. I don't want to update. Sorry, you guys had to hear that. Let's see. Volume. Stereo clip was low volume. Okay, yeah, I bumped up the stereo and Delaney at the same time with that one. So hopefully when we get the next one, we will figure out if we got it down. As you guys are watching the YouTube clip of me watching the YouTube clip. Trying to manage.
Inception.
I'm trying to manage 5 different platforms streaming here and OBS and stereo at the same time, folks.
Yeah, because you're a badass.
It's true. I just thought that was interesting. I wanted to bring that to the forefront of the show here because nobody else is going to be talking about that, and it reinforces what we've been talking about for a long time. So, just had to throw that one out there as a quick little,
Yeah, and I mean, so for those of you who are on stereo or those of you who are listening on the podcasting apps, I'm the token lesbian of Weekly Narrative, and I've said from the beginning that I'm very much against the drag queen story hour just because I think that it's kind of very adult kind of content to be bringing to children and introducing to children. So I'm just against it because it's not something that should be normalized for children at all. So it doesn't surprise me that I don't even know if this person is like is a drag queen doing the story hour or if they're just involved, but yeah, it doesn't surprise me that somebody's like into the kiddie porn and got caught doing it.
In a similar vein, but not directly related, we've got another story here from ZeroHedge.com about how Tinder is going to be allowing or potentially allowing users to run background checks on would-be dates. Have you heard about this?
Oh God.
Yeah, no, it's
what? That's just not the good thing I'm not on Tinder anymore because Jesus, if they do a background check on me, they're going to be like,
oh, you got a criminal record?
No, I don't got a criminal record, but they were like, if they're going deep into my background, they're going to be like, oh my God, she's not a delusional leftist. How dare she?
Tinder will soon allow users to run background checks on would-be dates. So the problem here with this is, right off the bat, before I get into the article, there's been enough demand for this that they actually created this and added this as a feature. That's what you got to realize, is that so many women have had horror stories after going on Tinder and going on dates that they've requested or complained, and Tinder said, hey, you know what, we hear you, and there's a demand for background checks on people on Tinder. And do you think it's going to be both ways, male and female, or do you think it's just going to be males?
I think, if we're going to go for fairness, they should do background checks on both. But knowing the way that society is, it's probably going to be mostly the males getting background checks.
Continuing on from the article here, online dating is on the verge of becoming a whole lot safer. Tinder, along with its parent company Match Group, partnered with a non-profit background check platform called Garbo Gar- Can we just acknowledge the funniness of that name, Garbo, like garbage? To help customers
Yeah,
determine
right.
if their blind date is hiding a criminal record. And they say that Match Group will begin testing and building out our capabilities for Garbo on Tinder in the coming months. Once Garbo is integrated on Tinder, other
Well,
Match Group brands like OkCupid, Hinge, Plenty of Fish, and others will follow.
well, I mean, so the
Jesus.
part of me that's like tries to see the good, that tries to see the good in this. I'm like, okay, yeah, this is good, so that way chicks and dudes know kind of what they're getting into when they do go on dates. They can know like, oh, this person's a felon or an ex-con or whatever. So, I mean, yes, it's good, but at the same time, it's kind of like, it's a little weird. But we got a
Yeah,
message on stereo. Let's
Tyler,
check it out.
hold on one second. Stalking Horse in YouTube
Okay.
chat says we need common sense Tinder control, and I would agree. We need background. But I think we need background checks before you can even create an account on Tinder. No, I'm kidding. Let's go ahead with that
Right.
comment.
All right.
This goes out to the weekly narrative guy. You have a golden voice, all right? It's silky smooth. You should be on television. You should be on the radio.
You can do Hitler speeches, man. That's how good your voice is. Your
That
voice is
you know
amazing.
that too is not too bad.
Yes, thank you. I
I tell
appreciate
him
that.
all the time that he has a silky smooth, sexy voice, and he should do commercials and he should be on radio. I say it all the time to him.
I am
So
taking
thank you.
requests.
Thank you.
I'll take requests for children's bedtime stories or adult bedtime stories. If you want to get that read in my voice, I will do that for a small fee.
Oh,
Continuing on from
that's
the article
awesome.
here.
I love it.
Yeah, that was great. Thank you. When it comes to Tinder and Hinge and other online dating apps, very little is known about the other person before the blind date. That's true. I mean, you got like, in most of the cases, you get a picture and then a line or two. If you're lucky, you get an Instagram profile, right? Garbo transforms online dating experience
Yeah.
to become a safer environment. So, what the argument is that you get a little more information about the person you're about to date. Well, how can that be a bad thing?
Right. I mean, you could just do the background check yourself, but people could lie and give you false information and stuff. So, I mean, I don't blame them for trying to make sure their users are safe, but at the same time, ladies, we need to use a little bit more discretion when it comes to going on dates with people.
Hey, that's straight from the lady's mouth, so I can't disagree with that. Guys in YouTube chat, how did that sound for the stereo clip? Was that good? Good audio? It sounded like it was good because they're commenting on the comments. So let's continue on. Let's hit the next ones that just came in there.
Okay.
What do you think about like Jews, like rich, powerful Jews? I'm talking about like Weinstein, Epstein, those kind of guys.
Goldenstein.
Schwab, like those kind of guys. Like, what do you think
Shiesty
about
ones,
them? Like, they got lots of like bad things going on, and
They're trying to
Yes. No, there's a lot of scrutiny on the Tiny Hat crowd. We call them Tiny Hat crowd around here. And, since we are streaming on multiple platforms here, YouTube and whatnot, we can't really give you our full opinion on them. But it's no secret that the Tiny Hat people control a lot of the wealth and the systems here in America.
And I mean, yeah, they control
Epstein
a lot.
is bad. I'll
and
give you that
They
disclaimer
control a lot
there.
of the media, the banks, and all that stuff. But I don't think overall they're like evil or anything like that.
Epstein didn't
so
kill
I'm
himself.
not gonna.
I could say that with some confidence there. All right, keep it going. I like these guys.
All right.
Dude, I don't know if you all realize I couldn't find your show. I put Leftism, I put mental, and y'all's show is not listed. What are they doing? Have we started? Have you started to define leftist mental illness? Or what, dude?
Well, I mean, we're probably shouting
No,
out
man,
already, but
we're yeah. If you don't, look us up on youtube.com/weekly narrative, so that way you can get a look at us and all that stuff. But we haven't defined it yet, or we haven't gone into it. We're just kind of like warming you up, getting the juices flowing. We'll go into all that stuff a little later. So keep listening.
trust me, it's coming. Let me actually pull up. I think it might be our next story here. Pull up the next comment while I get this next story going.
You got it, boss.
That's hilarious. That's pretty waspy, dude. Did you refer to them as tiny hat people? Really? Dick Goldstein? Smithberg?
Well, they do wear tiny hats.
That's an inside
so
joke for this
he's
channel.
not wrong about
yeah,
it.
that's an inside joke for this channel. There's some people in here that refer to them as that. It's not really. Personally, I don't care about the Jews at all.
Yeah, me neither. Yeah, I don't care either. Like, do you?
I do
You do
find it
you,
interesting.
booze.
The whole
Like,
Epstein thing
oh,
is definitely interesting because they mentioned Epstein specifically, but other than that, I don't really care in particular. I'm not
y-
in this channel, as alt centrists, which is what we are politically speaking. We don't look to externalities to blame problems for the problems in our lives. People will blame white supremacy, systemic racism. They'll blame all kinds of external problems for why their life sucks, and a lot of times that ends up pointing to the Jews for some reason. We're not part of that whole chain of events here. That process as a
okay.
alt centrist.
Okay. So you want to do a couple more? Well, we got two more.
Keep them coming. It's stereo night, baby. Let's go.
You know what, you guys, you are definitely very interesting people, and I just want to know what your opinion, final thoughts. What do you think of Nick Fuentes in America First?
I don't watch him, but
I
I can say
Me neither. I
with
know.
certainty that he's effective at what he does. And the reason why I know he's effective at what he does is because he's probably the most banned person on the internet. And even though he's the most banned person on the
Yeah.
internet, maybe he's second to Alex Jones, he still gets views. I don't know what platform he's on now because he's been banned from all of them, but you can tell he's effective by the way he's treated by the media. So that's my opinion on
Right.
him. Is whatever he's doing, I don't know exactly what his message is. I know he's America First, but I don't know. Literally beyond those two words, I know nothing about him. But he's definitely effective at what he does.
Yeah, he's America First, and he's also like people say that he's the R word racist because he doesn't believe in interracial marriages. But to me, that's not really racist. It's just everybody's entitled to their opinion. So
Is that the worst that they can say about him? Seems like they're kind of scraping the barrel a little
right,
bit on
I
that one.
guess a little bit. Yeah. Okay, we got.
Wait, hold on. Dari says in YouTube chat.
Y'all should be
Oh,
careful. You don't care. Why don't you care, dude? You should be caring. Caring is sharing. Jewish people need care too, dude. Don't we all? What's that about? Are y'all waspy or what? All right, man. Let's get to the meat and potatoes. I need a working definition of leftism and mental illness. Put them together.
Okay, we'll do that.
you asked for it.
So
I do.
yeah, you asked for
I
it.
do
We're
enjoy
gonna
being called.
deliver.
I do enjoy being called waspy though. I do appreciate that. All right. Dari says in chat, input blue anon in the search words. I don't know. Are you trying to say that they deleted it? They're hiding it? I know they are. We know they're hiding blue anon. They don't want anybody to see that. All right. So
Oh yeah.
let's
Well,
go ahead.
no, you go ahead, Jeremy.
Let's build the case that leftism is a mental illness here. What I'm going to do here first is lay out from a clinical perspective what cognitive distortions are. If you've ever been to any kind of therapy, cognitive behavioral therapy, for example, is a pretty common treatment for people that have anxiety, depression, things like that. They will teach you what cognitive distortions are, and they will teach you how your brain has been stuck in these patterns of cognitive distortions. Now, if you're looking at the YouTube stream at youtube.com/weeklynarrative, you're going to see this list up on the screen, but I'm going to narrate this for those who are just listening. We're going to go through this and define about 10 or so cognitive distortions with very basic, very simple definitions. And then we're going to use those definitions, the new knowledge we have, and apply it to a few stories from today, from this week, and see if we can't find some patterns there. So, without further ado, there will be in a second for those watching. Too many windows here.
You got this, Jeremy.
This is a category of distorted automatic thoughts, a guide for patients. This is literally what they would give you if you went to the therapist for depression or anxiety or any kind of cognitive behavioral mental illnesses. So number one is mind reading. We talk about this one a lot on the show, mind reading. You assume that you know
Yep.
what people think without having sufficient evidence of their thoughts. Mind reading. Number two is fortune telling. Fortune telling, you predict the future negatively. Things will get worse or there is danger ahead. Number three, similar in vein to fortune telling, is catastrophizing. This is one that we call out all the time on our show here. You believe that what has happened or will happen will be very bad. Okay, you're kind of basically thinking of the worst possible outcome every time when you catastrophize. Number four, labeling. You assign global negative traits to yourself and others. Number 5, discounting positives. You claim that the positive things you or others do are trivial. Now, keep in mind, these are generally related to when people have long-term chronic depression, anxiety. Their patterns in their head are doing these actions over and over and over again over a long-term basis, okay? And they get into these patterns. These patterns are what causes the mental illness. And when you go to cognitive behavioral therapy, you're told how to reverse these patterns. Number 6, negative filter. You focus almost exclusively on the negatives and seldom notice the positives. Number 7, overgeneralizing. You perceive a general global pattern of negatives on the basis of a single incident. As I'm reading through these, and if you're thinking about this in the context of news, politics, mass media, social media, you should be getting a lot of examples already in your head as I'm reading through this. But if you aren't, that's okay. We're going to go through some examples. Number 8, dichotomous thinking. You view events or people in all or nothing terms. Number 9, shoulds. You interpret event in terms of how things should be rather than simply focusing on what is. And finally, number 10, personalizing. I was confusing that with personalization. You attribute a disproportionate amount of the blame to yourself for negative events. And you fail to see that certain events are also caused by others. Okay, so there we go. Just to go through the quick list again: mind reading, fortune telling, catastrophizing, labeling, discounting positives, negative filter, overgeneralizing, dichotomous thinking, shoulds, and personalizing. So,
I mean, can those all be just assigned to straight leftism? I mean, I feel like these are just like people in general that do all this stuff. And I mean, primarily, yes, it is a bunch of like brain dead leftists that do it. But I know people who are, either in the middle or on the right that think like this too. So I don't
absolutely.
know. I don't know, Jeremy.
No, you're right. You're right. And that's what part of this discussion is. If there is an argument to be made that, there's this isn't primarily on one particular side of the political aisle, well, you can make it. However, be wary that this isn't all the data that I have. Okay, I'm just getting started here. Remember, I said I'm going to build a case.
Oh, okay, Jeremy. Let's listen.
Exhibit 2 of my case. I have a study from, pulling it up here. Please hold. A study that came out at the end of last year, right at the end of last year. This is daily politics as a chronic stressor. And basically what this study does is they studied people on the left and the right and their news consumption statistics, and they also studied their mental health after consuming media, and they tried to figure out if it was harmful to your mental health to consume media. And you got any predictions on how this may have turned out? If the left or right, who consumes more, and whether or not it was impairing to their health?
I would say the leftists probably consume more of the mainstream media. But so, it's more the leftists, but the right probably the right side of the political aisle probably consume almost as much as the left do, but they just consume the other side. So I don't know.
All right. So about the same, you think? Okay. All right. Well, let's get into, we actually have the numbers as well. So this doesn't have the actual numbers of who consumes more, but it does tell you who is affected more. So citing from the study, just a real quick couple of extracts here. Daily political events consistently evoked negative emotions, which corresponded to worse psychological and physical well-being, but also increased motivation to take political action. For example, volunteering and protesting, aimed at changing the political system that evoked these emotions in the first place. So that people who consume news and are negatively affected by that, psychologically and physically, they're also increased to take more political action. They're more motivated to take political action. Sorry. And
I was gonna say the leftists generally they'll see something on the media and then they'll just react by going out and protesting and screaming and yelling and making people feel terrible. So
there you go.
Yeah, that makes sense.
See, you're starting to get the picture that I'm trying to paint for you here. The leftist media, like CNN, MSNBC, you name it, whatever, most of the Twitter outlets, BuzzFeed, Huffington Post, Vox, they know that people are going to be moved to action by negative stories. So if you were to,
Mm-hmm.
and this is just a guess, there's no data that I have right now offhand for this statistic, but if you were to guess how many stories coming out of those outlets were generally positive or generally negative, how much would you say would be generally negative?
Like,
Just give a ballpark percentage.
I don't know, like 80%,
Yeah, okay, I was gonna go about 90%.
80% negative.
Yeah, I was gonna go about 90%, and they know that. They know that this
Yeah,
this.
I was going to say, you hardly ever tune into CNN or MSNBC or ABC or any of the big networks, and they're like on there talking about anything positive that's going on in this country. It's generally very negative to like get those negative emotions out of people, to get them up and out and doing something about it.
So this actually also works in the opposite manner. So if you don't watch a lot of news, or if you have a coping mechanism for the news, it does the same effect in the opposite direction. It's you're less likely to be involved in political action. So the study also found that successful acceptance, meaning they don't really get emotionally destroyed by the news they're reading. It predicted greater daily well-being, but no impairment to political action. Overall, the research highlights how politics can be a chronic stressor in people's daily lives, underscoring the far-reaching influence politicians have beyond formal powers endowed onto them. People don't realize this, but the political stories that they're reading, the way that they interact with politicians isn't primarily through the laws and bills and things that they do and their actual job. It's the news that's generated by what they're doing, what they're saying, the conflicts that they're in. And that's actually how people are most affected by politicians. It's not the actions of the politicians directly, their job duties. It's the news about them.
Yeah.
So,
Mm-hmm.
and don't worry, I got plenty more data here. I'm going to paint a beautiful picture here, like that painter guy with the afro. I forgot his name, but I've actually
Bob
done
Ross.
a Bob Ross painting here for you. I've done his paintings too, and I don't know why I forgot his name. Now I'm going to give you the numbers of who. Now I'm going to give you the numbers of who consumes the most media. So what have we learned so far? We've learned that consuming politics can be a chronic stressor. Consuming politics does have a negative effect on your mental health and your physical health. And let's look at who consumes more media here. Do we have any comments in the stereo while I'm pulling this up?
Nope, nobody so far.
Any good comments in YouTube? See if you got anything in YouTube while I pull this up. It'll take me just a second here.
Let me look. See. So Dari in chat says the false narrative would point left. Tyler says, Jesus, this is like reverse psychology. Stalking Horse in chat says the left is highly dependent on low info people.
All right.
Dari says the left media utilizes emotions by way of contorting and omitting parts of various events, which is very true.
So a lot of people don't. You wouldn't know about these cognitive distortions unless you've actually been to therapy. So the news media companies know this. Now let's get into statistics of who's watching media. Latest ANES data, shows that 42%, 34%, and 30% of white liberals now report regularly getting news from the New York Times, Washington Post, and CNN, respectively. So that's 42% of liberals get their news from the New York Times, 34% consume Washington Post, and 30% consume CNN, which is up from 18%, 6%, and 16%, respectively, from 2012. So this is over double.
Jeez.
Yeah, no, over double in all cases.
I was going to say over double.
Actually, it wasn't over double for CNN, but Washington Post and New York Times. New York Times was over 5 times increase in percentage of people watching or listening to the New York Times. New York Times went from 18% to 42%, so that was double. Washington Post went from 6% to 34%. And
it's like triple right there.
Yeah, well, it's like 5 times, almost 6 times. Now I know what you're thinking. I know what you're thinking. But Jeremy, what about the right wingers? Okay, well I've also got that data here because this is how we do it. All right, we don't play sides here. We're all centrists,
Yep.
which means we're in an alternate universe in the center.
We like to look at both sides and talk crap about both sides.
We're objective observers. Across the same period, the percentage of white conservatives who reported regularly getting news from FoxNews.com jumped from 15% to 26%. So Fox News is
Okay.
pretty much the only mainstream conservative outlet. And
Yeah.
they only have a 26% reported viewing ratio. The liberals, remember I'm going over this data again just to compare, liberals are at 42% for New York Times, 34% for Washington Post, and 30% for CNN. So even their lowest consumption outlet, CNN, is higher than the right wing that consumes. The only 26% of them are regular consumers of FoxNews.com. So that'll give you an indication there. You know, just cash that in the back of your head along with everything else that I've told you already, that we know the left is more impacted from negative news, politics news. They get mental and physical damage from constant political news. And now we know that they consume more news than the right. So let's take a look at some actual. Now that we know the data, we know what happens when you watch the news. We know who's watching the news, and we know how much they watch the news. Let's look at some of those cognitive distortions that we pulled up, and see if we can't maybe pull out some examples from recent news that would display a perfect example of those cognitive distortions. Dari says, that's
Okay.
hard to believe. Fox has a larger audience than most of the leftist channels combined. That is true. That is true. But
Yeah, that is true. But
It's-
also too, I would assume that like Fox's viewership is down. Uh-oh. Are there rioters outside your door, Jeremy?
nope, just standard downtown Sacramento life. Fire trucks every night. Let me pull up. Let's get into the current events now. We gave you the background. Let's you guys know about the Atlanta shooting happened, right? The guy shot 8 people in Atlanta.
Absolutely.
And it's been all over the news. People have been calling it racist, but the narrative has been conflicting because the official reports are that it wasn't actually racism. It was based on his addiction to sex, and he went specifically to these massage parlors to shoot the people that were working there because he's blaming them for his sex addiction. That's kind of the official narrative as of right now. Let me pull up a summary of what the left's view of this event is. This is Trevor Noah, who perfectly summarizes exactly what everyone on the left is saying right now about the Atlanta shooting. Quote this is from the Daily Show, the actual Daily Show, official Daily Show Twitter account. This isn't like Trevor Noah's personal account. He says, I know the shooter says he wasn't racially motivated, but please forgive me if I don't take that at face value. If you kill 6 Asian women, I'm not going to take your word that you weren't being racist. Your murders speak louder than your words. Okay, guys, you ready? It's time to play. It's time to play. Name that cognitive distortion.
Pull up that list and let's try to narrow it down. Which cognitive distortion is Trevor Noah suffering from?
So number 1
On
is
top of having bad hair.
Yeah, well, we're gonna get into personal attacks. All right, we don't have to go that far.
I know.
Obviously, off the top of my head, immediately, and this is why I say leftism is mental illness, because this is present in almost every single story that the left perpetuates on the news. Number 1, mind reading. Trevor thinks that he knows the mind of the killer better than the killer himself, because the killer told the cops that it was because of his sex addiction. And he literally says in the tweet, I know that I hear what you're telling me, but I still don't believe you because I think your motives are XYZ instead of ABC. That is classic textbook mind reading. That's an easy given. That's a given, right? So number 3,
I think, agree with that.
Number 3 also classifies this as catastrophizing, because the left, they have this inclination to, anytime an event happens, like Derek Chauvin killing George Floyd, for example. They attribute that to the worst possible case scenario, which is racism, even though there is no even a slightest indication of racism. There's no indication of racism in this particular case either, but they want to go to the worst possible case, maybe because they've been trained to think negatively because they consume so much news, especially after 4 years of Trump. You know what I'm saying? So we've got
He's definitely doing number 4, which is labeling. He's labeling this guy as the other R word, and
Right.
even though it's not, even though he's come out and said that it wasn't about, their race, it was just about, his own personal, sex addiction, and these guys weren't giving, like, all that stuff. And so he's labeling him as something, even though there's no evidence to prove it.
Here's another one. This is a twist that you probably won't hear anywhere else. Number 6, the cognitive distortion negative filter. You focus almost exclusively on the negatives and seldom notice the positives. Tell me, how many times have you seen any kind of eulogies, or not like eulogies, but any victim data on these TV shows, these news channels? How much they talk about the victims versus how much they talk about the killer? They focus on the quote unquote fake white supremacy angle of the story. They don't talk about the victims at all. They don't, say, oh, this was the beautiful young woman who worked here and she had a family and this is, she was just trying to raise her kids. They focus exclusively on the negative part about the fact that the guy was a white supremacist. So we've got at least 4, and we just glanced at this list, 4 cognitive distortions that what's his face, Trevor Noah is applying, and the left in general, when they say that this Atlanta shooting was racism and not the sex addiction. So let's get I heard a couple of comments come in. Let's hit those.
Okay.
Nah, Trevor's one of the usual suspects that's like out there hyping it all up and creating the mental illness, basically.
Yes. Nailed
Yep,
it.
I agree with
That's
you.
exactly what he's doing.
Nailed it.
He's showing, he's cheerleading. He's cheerleading his side.
Yeah. He's stoking that fire. He's adding logs to the fire of already like people that are scared and like angry, and he's just poking that fire even more, just to get them even more scared and more angry, to the point where I've seen videos of young men escorting their elderly Asian grandparents to wherever they go, so that way they don't get attacked. And he just keeps on poking.
Stalking Horse says in chat, and what group does the majority of violence against Asians? Well, we can't talk about that one, Stalking Horse, because that narrative doesn't fit the preconceived notions and the ideas that we've already made up in our heads. Because we all know the majority of those have been black people. But yeah, keep them coming.
It's like they're distressing people. They're like, it's programming and stuff. After Donald Trump, to me, the establishment, the government, I just ignored it all and knew that it was all corrupt and it was all bullshit, and I knew what was up. But then this Donald Trump thing comes along, and I start thinking, it was like false hope, basically, and that was the whole point in it. And it was like a honey trap. You go to that conservative site, the Gateway Pundit, it's insane. It's like total fascism. I stopped looking at it like a car wreck, basically, and now I'm going back to being apolitical, and they had my attention for 4 years, and I was waiting to see what would happen, and I watched Donald Trump allow all these things to happen and make out that he was getting stopped, and then Biden gets in and he doesn't even have to go through Congress and stuff, and he's making everything happen, and yeah, it's bullshit, and they just want your attention, and yeah, fuck the usual suspects.
Absolutely. I like your accent, by the way. Where are you from? That's a cool accent.
Sounds like Ireland or something like that. Scotland, maybe.
I was going to say, it sounds like Ireland. I don't know. I get them all confused.
Here's what I thought when he was giving that comment is, now you got to wonder. We know that the media was dying before Donald Trump came into office, but they got this opportunity. Maybe they fell into this kind of just organically. They realized that when they covered Trump at a 90% negative rate, which I think was roughly the rate for how many stories were negative over positive that he got during his presidency, maybe they discovered by accident that if they just pump mental illness and fear and all these cognitive distortions into their viewers, that they get more views, they get more clicks, people keep coming back. Remember, that study told us that when they have the physical and psychological damage from these negative political stories, that they're more inclined to take action, political action, more inclined to be activists. What does that mean? They're more inclined to consume more news. You're starting to see the picture I'm
Yep.
painting here, folks. You're starting to see how this is all coming together now, how leftism is perpetuated and is built off of mental illness, because all these ideas, Black Lives Matter, white supremacy, equality, open borders, all of this stuff is perpetuated off of stories that pump fear, destruction, psychological damage into your brain. They make you want to get active. They make you consume more news. They make you angry. I saw a tweet from Emma Gonzalez. Do you know who Emma Gonzalez is? Do you remember her? From the Parkland shooting? She was one of the Parkland shooting kids.
From
And she,
oh, that bald girl.
yeah, she shaved her head. She has a tweet that's
Yeah.
still up somehow. I don't even know how. It's still up on Twitter. And this is a perfect example of where this kind of stuff puts you, because she was responding to a tweet from Governor Ron DeSantis, who just said, like, rip Rush, rest in peace, Rush, because Rush Limbaugh passed. And her tweet said, I will be the one who watches the life come out of your eyes, or something like that, as you die.
Oh wow.
No, yeah.
That's not like mental. That's not mental illness at all.
Does that sound
Wishing
like
death
this-
upon somebody?
Yeah, right. Does that sound? I mean, this is the same person that has, like, abolish the police in her Twitter profile and stuff. Does that sound like the mindset of a healthy person? The answer is no. We all know that. You can't even try to make an argument that that is healthy. But this is where this kind of stuff pushes you. You hear negative stories about Ron DeSantis. You hear negative stories about whatever issue that it is that you want, and you get pushed into a black hole of negativity. Let's keep going with the comments there. What's up, Dari? Osis? I see you guys
Right.
in chat.
You got it, boss.
And what about like the amount of false flags? It's like there's just too much. I've seen too much evidence of like Mason actors and stuff, Freemason actors, and
Oh,
yeah, it
snap.
just chills. It's like you're best just like focusing on your own life and ignoring it all. Basically, you don't pay it your attention.
Boom. See, I don't know about the Mason.
Boom,
I don't know.
Diamond Eye. You are the man, Diamond Eye.
I don't know about the Mason stuff, but I will say, I don't know if he was here for the beginning of the chat when somebody asked me why I don't care, and he called me waspy. He said, why don't you care about the Jews, and why do you care about all this stuff? It's because I'm focused on myself. This is exactly what they want you to do. They want you to focus all your energy externally on problems that you cannot solve. You can't solve the Jewish problem if there is a Jewish problem. You can't solve the white supremacy problem if there is a white supremacy problem. That's all a waste of your time. It's all a distraction. They're trying to suck you into a black hole of negative energy.
Yep, and that's something that you and I, Jeremy, we talk about constantly on our stream. Is instead of focusing all your time and energy on all these external things that you have really no control over, focus on your family, focus on your close circle of friends, and I guarantee you that stress, that anxiety, that animosity you have building up inside of you will eventually just dwindle away, because you're not worried about all these all these like threats out that you have no control over.
That's right.
All right. Dang, the stereo chats are racking up, my friend.
This is the thing, like where I live, Donald Trump's like, I don't know if he's from Shetland, which is where the KKK is from. There were a bunch of islanders, horse whisperers, that didn't like outsiders from the island, and they moved to the south, and they brought the the flag with them, which is the Saint is it Saint George's Cross? Is it? I can't remember. Saint Andrew's Cross, Saint George's Cross. The South Alabama flag, I think, or Southern flag. But yeah, like he set up his golf course over here. I live where he's got his golf course, basically, in Scotland. And
It's a nice golf course.
yeah, I just totally ignored all the stuff. I'd like back in the day when that golf course stuff was happening. Supposedly, people's water and electricity was getting cut off and stuff. Like he's in with the council and like people over here and stuff. And there was heaps of. I don't know if it was like anti stuff or if it was real. I'm starting to think it was probably some truth to it, like all this bad publicity he was getting over here and stuff he was doing.
Yeah, I don't know nothing about all that Ireland stuff, but the point remains, is they're going to blow everything out of proportion that they can. They want you to think that it's, remember, catastrophizing. That's the biggest, that's actually the most prominent one that they do, cognitive distortion that the left uses. Every single time something happens, when Trump Trump says he wants 2 scoops of ice cream. They catastrophize and they say that's the sign of the patriarchy and that the world's going to end because of patriarchy. You know what I'm saying? They'll take any of the
Yep.
stupidest small little things, they'll catastrophize it and turn it into something huge.
Well, I mean, I remember when Trump got elected, supposedly he was going to put all the gays and lesbians and transgenders into concentration camps and zap all of us and turn us all straight and turn us
Yep.
all normal. But here we are, like 5 years later, 6 years later, almost, and I haven't been rounded up, and I'm the token lesbian of the group here. I still haven't gotten zapped yet, so
Dari says in
it's
chat,
catastrophizing.
yep, pure catastrophizing all the way through. And they're so addicted to catastrophizing about Trump that they're still talking about Trump even though he's not even in office. You notice that? There's like the
Yes.
taxes or Trump's tax returns. I saw a story about Trump. Who cares, dude? He's out. Dari says in chat, the beautiful part of this is that
Yep.
they are exposed. They can't hide behind their hate for Trump mantra. When people's taxes rise, gas prices and other areas as well, with violence is all on them. That's a good point. And Scott Adams summarized this very well. He said that the longer Trump is out of office, the smarter he's going to look because Biden is just, he's slowly going to be realizing that the best course of action is whatever Trump was doing. Take the border, for example.
Yep. All right, one more. Well, we got 5 in stereo. Let me play them.
Yeah, they were saying like apparently the news was like total dying, but like they needed the Trump thing was to get like the news and stuff going, businesses going again as well. Like
Trump
they
bump.
needed Trump basically to get the business going. And then it's so bad, man. I go into that like Ben Shapiro, and he's like total pushing his candy owens like marketing, selling sex sort of thing, and then he just like is this gleaming idiot. It's like totally like something off of like a dystopian 80s bad movie TV show or something like him on YouTube. It's just not the the show that I bought into and the guy that I thought he was. Like, I just think they're all shells now, to be honest.
Hey, man, you got to sell those sheets, make that money. Can't blame him for that. I think we got
next one.
2 more from him. And
We
then
got 4.
It sounds like audio or Holly left a message too. Let's keep going.
Speaking about mental illness, between...
All right, try again next time.
Man, I remember on 9/11, they you can look into it. There's just so many, you can even that George Floyd was there's pictures of him with his 33-degree tattoos and stuff, and he's a Freemason and
Can't
stuff,
talk
and
about that.
it was just all nonsense and lies to hype the people up and manipulate them. It's pretty crazy to think. It's like it's a simulated world basically. It's like the world is a stage, and. Yeah, I remember 9/11. I can't unsee this. I can't unremember it. On 9/11, the TV glitched and the textures came off of the plane, and they probably did it on purpose because they like trolling people and they like, and there's kind of like an unwritten contract of selling out and stuff to it, and then you'll go far if you're like unrighteous and you're not like a god sort of righteous person. You're willing to fuck everyone over and murder and stuff like that. You'll go far.
All right, Diamond Eyes had a little too much whiskey, I think. MA's here in the chat. What's up, MA? With 2 great comments
What's
I wanted
up,
to point out in
MA?
chat. King Xenomorph says, China knows the USA needs a lifeline. Sir, we're going to be getting into that after we get over this mental illness discussion here. Well, China, I mean, it's right in the title of the stream. China's been taking dumps on the US, and they have. And I don't think it's so much the US, although we deserve it. It's mostly Biden. And actually, it's not just China either. It's North Korea and Russia. They all took massive dumps on Biden this week. It was a really bad week for Biden, but we'll get into that.
Oh yeah.
The left can't treat their mental illness. Oh, go ahead.
Sorry.
Oh.
I played it, but I cut it out. Sorry. Sorry, Diamond Eyes.
Sorry,
My bad.
Diamond Eyes is hogging the stage. We want to get some other people in here. Holly's got to try again too.
Okay. Do you want me to play stereo or do you want to read chats
Go
from
ahead.
YouTube?
Sorry, I got cut off on my last message. First time recording on stereo here, but I'm just thinking about the effects of social media and mainstream media on men and women. It would be interesting to see those statistics that you shared divided out into male and female, how it's affecting women and men differently, because women are more likely to experience depression and anxiety and act on it. So are these mainstream media institutions forwarding their stuff towards women, gearing it towards, because they know that we're the ones that are more likely to react? So my advice for women is just put the phone down and go spend time with your family. Go outside, go for a walk. Stop worrying about the big things that you can't solve yourself.
Yes.
Focus on what you can change in your own life.
Thank you for the chat, Holly. And I caught your little Canadian accent there, so sorry. Cute.
No, that's I love what you said there, because I think inherently, because the media and because society in general is definitely leaning more feminine right now, that the narratives coming out of the media, the stories themselves, because they're being written by women and feminized men, they are all definitely hitting the pressure points and the triggers of the feminine mind over the masculine mind. I don't even think you even need data to show that, because we all know that this Western society is so feminized right now. But I would love to see numbers on that if I can find. I'll see if I can find some
Well,
statistics on that.
yeah, and also too, if you look at like all of the people that go out and protest and scream and yell and make signs, are they mostly men or are they mostly women? You're kind of like seeing it in
There you
real
go.
life just
Yeah.
by watching all the protesters. You're seeing I personally am seeing mostly women, and then there are men sprinkled in there, but they're usually not like most like alpha males aren't out there screaming and yelling
No,
and
they're
hooting
feminized
and
men.
hollering, and yeah, they're staying at home and taking care of their family as they should. And Holly, you are very much correct about that. Like, put the phone down, stop going on social media, stop going on Twitter, stop catastrophizing yourself, go outside, spend time with your family, eat right, exercise, get your daily dose of vitamin D. That's going to go a lot longer in your long-term mental health than going out and screaming and yelling and like shouting your abortions to the world, that kind of stuff.
See, here's the problem, and MA brought up in chat. It's perfectly put, because it's mostly women and the feminist men who want to get with those women, because these are weak, pathetic men who they can't, win a woman over based on their pure merits of their masculinity or their accomplishments or their money or whatever it is. They have to kind of sneak in with their ideology and say, "Yeah, I'm a male feminist. Be friends with me. Let's hang out," stuff like that. So it's affecting men as well.
Look, I got purple hair too.
Yeah.
All right, we got one more in stereo.
Hey, what's up, everybody? How we doing?
What's up? Welcome to the room.
What's up, ass and titties? Nice to meet you.
That's his name.
That's what that guy's name was. That was his name, ass and titties. I love it.
Glad to have you here, sir. Let's.
Yeah, we love chatting with other people. Like, it's welcome.
Let's go on to another story that may illustrate some of what we're seeing with this. We all know how much Trump was fact-checked during his presidency, right? Every single little thing he said was criticized down to the nano molecule, trying to figure out, what was correct, what was incorrect. And they always assumed his motives as well whenever he said something that was incorrect. But now we finally got a fact check on Joe Biden.
Ooh, yay, finally, we have one.
That's right, from Daniel Dale, the resident fact checker over at CNN. And people on Twitter are not happy about it. So I'm actually, what I'm going to do is we're not even going to read the article. I'm going to go through just the responses of people who are responding to Daniel Dale fact-checking Biden. Because remember, we're talking about how leftism is a mental illness, and these people who follow Daniel Dale, who is a CNN fact-checker, they're leftists because they've been conditioned to hearing all the fact checks that Daniel Dale does on Donald Trump for the last 4 years. So when Daniel Dale posts a fact check of Biden, oh my God, it's nuclear catastrophe meltdown up in here. So if you're watching,
because he's supposed to be a decent guy that knows all the facts and has all the logic. So yeah, of course they're going to have a mental breakdown when he's wrong about something.
So I'm just gonna rapid fire some of these comments straight off the Twitter thread. This Twitter thread is directly from Daniel Dale, ddale8 at Twitter. This is on the comments thread from his post here. "You're just irritating, Daniel Dale, like an ex-boyfriend correcting everything his new boyfriend says. X likes showing you how great he thinks he is, but he's into awesome new smart guy. You gotta wait until newness is worn off." Daniel, I have a fact check for the fact checker. When did fact checks of the president become a regular thing? I vaguely remember it happening for major Obama speeches, but not often. And now it became a necessity with Trump. But now it seems regular for all POTUS remarks.
Well, I mean, not gonna lie, like the POTUS is a human being too and gets stuff wrong. So I'm glad that somebody's fact checking him because, like we said at the very beginning of this segment, they fact check Trump. They fact check Trump like on every little thing you said, even if he was just like not, even if he was just like embellishing the truth a little bit. They would put a fact check or a warning on whatever whatever he would say. And the fact that they're doing it to Biden, I'm like, yes, we should do it to Biden. Just because he has a D next to his name doesn't mean that he's not without criticism and not without, you know, understanding that what he says actually like should be fact checked sometimes or all the time, actually, in my opinion.
Well, I mean, he should have been fact checked a lot more, but he's finally been fact checked by Daniel Dale. Finally, I mean, after 2 months or whatever, 3 months, and people were melting down. So I don't even have these highlighted. I'm literally just going down the line because they're all this good. Here's another one. It says Biden is wrong on statistics. The other guy was wrong or lied how many times? So according to this guy, it's totally fine. This is a blue check mark guy saying that, by the way.
Of course.
This one's good. So what? You trying to screw him over by keeping on reporting about it? How many times did Trump give the wrong numbers purposely? So you're starting to see it. You're starting to see the pattern here. The first comment I read was the other guy was wrong or lied. This one says, "Are you trying to screw him over because he kept reporting on it? How many times did Trump give the wrong numbers purposely?" Okay, so just keep that in the back of your head.
I mean, there we go with the cognitive stuff that we were talking about. Because catastrophizing. Here we are, just fact checking the POTUS as we should, and they're catastrophizing it as they always do.
Yep, here we go again. That's
just because it's their guy.
Just a couple more comments down. Nothing to see here, folks. I'm glad that Daniel Dale is clearing things up, but it's pretty clear that Joe Biden is not a malicious, intentional liar. See that? We've 3 out of the last 6 tweets have claimed intent. Let's jump back to our list of cognitive distortions here, which are the patterns that lead to mental illness. Remember, folks, we're talking about how leftism is a mental illness here. Number 1 on the list, mind reading. If you ever claim that somebody is lying, you have to know the intent of that person. That means you're mind reading.
Right.
Also, catastrophizing, because in Trump's case, where it oftentimes probably is just a mistake on a statistic or an incorrectly cited fact or whatever it is, they catastrophize to the worst case scenario. They think that he's lying because he wants to harm the country. He wants to benefit his side, the white supremacists, and he wants to hurt all the communists and the leftists and the evil, the evil Democrats. They're catastrophizing just a catastrophic situation out of him just saying the wrong thing. Negative filter also, number 6, another cognitive distortion that you could say is happening there as well. But I heard a couple comments come in. Let's hit those.
Okay, you got it, boss.
They're under the spell, the influence.
They sure are.
I like that he calls it a spell. So on this channel, Diamond Eyes, we call it the mind virus. They've been infected with the mind virus, and it's deeply, deeply embedded inside not only their brains, but just their whole body. So they literally cannot function without, doing one of these categories of mental illness that we've been talking about.
Right. Their literal existence depends on it. They can't, when a story comes outside that narrative, like exactly the first example that we gave you guys of the Atlanta shooter, where we all know that the official narrative so far, the motive was sex addiction. They can't process that. They see a white guy committing a crime. Their brain literally cannot comprehend it because they've been so conditioned into this pattern of mental illness that they have to turn it into white supremacy. Otherwise, they'll have a breakdown. They'll literally have a breakdown. Their brain will stop working. It has to fit into the patterns that they've established in their head. Otherwise, the reality falls apart entirely.
All right, we got another message on stereo.
They've developed the neuroplasticity, so that's their life now, and they need it. They've got that runs in their brain, so that's the way they're going to be from now on, unless they do some serious. I don't know, they need to go to some sort of recovery like rehab.
Yeah, because the stuff that we're talking about here, these cognitive distortions, this list was provided directly from a healthcare provider. It says at the top, a guide for patients. So when you have mental illness like depression, anxiety, or whatever, panic attacks, stuff like that, this is what they give you to make sure that you recognize the
Yeah.
thought patterns that you're in to break out of them. And we're seeing this happen on a
Cognitive
mass
behavioral
scale.
therapy.
Exactly. What happens when you take these and reverse engineer them? You know that doing these will induce mental illness as opposed to trying to correct them to remove mental illness. You implement those into your mass media stories and your social media and all that kind of stuff. What do you expect to happen? Of course, half the country is going to get brainwashed into seeing white supremacy where there is none. They see black people beating up an Asian person on the street, and they think white supremacy. Tell me how
Yep.
that isn't mental
I remember
illness.
when it happened. Yeah, I remember when they was starting to happen in the Bay Area here in California. Like it was black people doing most of these attacks, and they still blamed it on white supremacy. It's like, wait, what? How does that connect to? How does that A point connect to B point via white supremacy? Like, I'm just not seeing it, but somehow they're seeing it, and that's the mental illness that we're talking about.
It's the simpler way to put it is the two worlds, one screen thing, which has been referred to many times as well, where we're each looking at the same screen of reality, but they see an entirely different story. And the reason they see an entirely different story, it's not because they were born that way. It's not because they have different visible spectrum of light. They can't see different light in their eyes. They don't hear different things. It's not like they have a dog's hearing where they hear higher frequencies. They've been conditioned through these cognitive distortions to twist everything that they see and perceive into the worst possible scenario: racism, white supremacy, everything.
All right, we got stereo chats. Let's get them played.
I thought you was just doing like a play on words of like cognitive dissonance or cognitive biases and stuff. I was actually looking into, I can't remember the other ones, but like all the cognitive bias, cognitive dissonance. I need to look them up again.
No, it's called cognitive behavioral therapy. And if you have depression and anxiety, that's exactly how they treat it, because they recognize these symptoms.
Mm-hmm. Yep. All right, we've got one more.
Ah, yeah, I forgot. It's the media that did it to them. You know, it's totally the media's fault.
There you go. This guy knows.
Yeah,
He's
it's
been
the
converted.
media. It's definitely, I would say it's a combination of like the media and then also the folks that they surround themselves with. Because if you're surrounded by a bunch of leftist thinking and leftist leaning people, and you have a difference of opinion, and you're surrounded by people that think differently, are you going to actually speak up and like press against them? Or are you just, because we all want to belong, we all kind of want to like fit into our own groups. Are you going to press against that and lose your friends? Or are you just going to conform and be like, yeah, totally, I agree? So I think it's a combination of the media plus, you know, the outside influences besides the media as well.
Yeah, they're definitely the major contributing factor, but there are multivariable issue. As in all things in life, it's not a single variable. So we've now seen that in reference to the Atlanta shooting, that the left is, you know, they're using these mental illness thought patterns to assign it to white supremacy when it is not white supremacy. We're seeing in response to criticism of Biden that they're continuing on with the conditioning that they've had from the Trump era in the media, where you can't fact check Biden, and Trump had an intent behind all the bad things that he said. They were all lies, but Biden, these are just mistakes. They're not only mind reading Trump, but they're also mind reading Biden. They're mind reading the fact that he has good intentions. So it's mind reading on both sides.
Yep.
So go ahead and
More
hit that comment, and I'm going to pull up the next story we got here.
All right, next comment.
Gotta be wide and say like the non-player characters running on the macros, like.
They are non-player characters, my friend. They definitely are. They can't like free think and just think differently. So they just go with the crowd. They go with whatever crowd they surround themselves with. Even if their crowd is like falling off a cliff and dying, they're still going to follow. So it's definitely NPCs. It's the mind virus.
Trevor Noah is the worst, says MA in chat, and I think that's the perfect way to exit that segment there and jump into our next segment, which is going to be just as fun because we get to talk about how Biden's getting dumped on or dunked on, whatever your preferred method of humiliation is. I prefer dumps. Maybe you like to dunk. This week has been very
I like
rough.
dumps.
Very rough for Biden. And we're going to, I think every notable country in the world took a dunk on him or dump on him. We're going to start off with the first one here from North Korea. So from Yahoo News, very unbiased source here for you guys. They just give you the straight facts. Kim Jong-un's sister warns Biden not to make a stink with South Korean exercise drills. So, are you familiar with, you ever watch like Shark Week on Discovery Channel?
Yeah.
So you know what chum is? Like a chum bucket?
Yes. Yeah, the chum bucket, what
The
they use
chum-
to lure the sharks out.
Yes, the chum has been dropped into the water. When Biden got elected, it was a gigantic bucket of chum that got dumped over, and guess what? All the big sharks are coming in because they smell easy food. They smell an easy snack, and this is a great example. They're from 3 days ago. In a 915-word statement, Kim Jong-un's little sister, Kim Yo-jong, has offered a chilling warning to the U.S. over computer-based drills being conducted by American and South Korean forces this week. Quote, we want to take this opportunity to warn the new U.S. administration trying hard to give off powder smell in our land, she said on Tuesday, evoking the stench of gunpowder and the vague threat of war. Quote, if the U.S. wants to sleep in peace for the coming 4 years, it had better refrain from causing a stink at its first step.
Oh, wow.
If the U.S. wants to sleep in peace for the next 4 years, specifically referencing Biden's term, so there's no mistaking that, and then also saying that they want to warn the new administration. Okay, so this is specifically about Biden. This isn't about the United States. Stop picking on corn pop, says JC Stick. Yeah. So
Awesome.
that's the first one here. And hit that comment while I pull up the next one.
All right. All right. This person's not saying anything, so I'm going to stop it.
Bunny Hopper's mic wasn't working. You guys may
Yeah.
have seen
Get your mic fixed.
the second one that took a dunk on Biden was old Putin. Vladimir Putin, as they like to say. Although I prefer Putin, but Putin, this was hilarious too. Oh my God. If you didn't see this video, you got to watch it. It's just like 30 seconds. But Putin basically, okay, so the first shot was taken by Biden. Biden said Putin's a killer, right? Putin was like, yeah, whatever. I heard that a million times. It takes one to know one. He said that. But that wasn't the dunk. The dunk came in when Putin said that he wants to invite Biden to a live streamed discussion, unmoderated live stream discussion on the internet for everybody to watch. Just a very...
Ooh, I'd love to see that.
Oh, I know. Wouldn't we all? That would be amazing. I would pay to watch that. The reason why this was so genius and why this was such a dunk, and this is only half the dunk, the next half of the dunk is coming, is because everybody knows that Biden is not capable of doing this. So it's a very reasonable request or invitation from Putin to just say, hey, let's have a discussion. You know, I'm a superpower, you're a superpower. Let's just have a discussion. Why not? It should happen more often anyway. And then what did Biden's team say? He's busy. Are you kidding me? He's too busy to talk to Putin, the guy that you've been saying for the last 4 years has been trying to destroy our country. Maybe if he's offering a spot at the table to have a conversation, you take that. But of course, we all know Biden's not busy. He's putting a lid on the day at 9 a.m. every single day. Okay, he's just not capable.
You mean 9 p.m.?
No, 9 a.m. He gets up at 7. He does
9 a.m.
Yeah, that's what he was doing on the campaign trail. He was taking a lid at 9 a.m.
He does 2 hours of work and calls it a day. Throws a log on the fire, calls it a day.
Puts a log on the fire and combs his leg hair, and then he goes to sleep. The awesome dunk came when Putin said that he wishes Biden good health, but he didn't just say, "I wish you good health." he added in the last one word on the end of that that just made it so hilarious. I was almost crying in my chair when I read this, when I saw it. He said, "I wish him good health," unironically. You gotta watch the video because he had to throw in.
Because he knows that Biden's suffering from dementia. So
Yeah, no, he's just telling the whole entire world that we know that you're falling apart, you're crumbling, you're an old, decrepit man with dementia. But I'm not a bad guy, so I'm just gonna say, unironically, actually, I'm not referring to your actual mental problems, your actual health issues. Unironically, I want you to be healthy. And then, ironically, like 2 days later, he falls down on the stairs as he's getting up to the airplane. So.
oh my god, I saw that. That was so sad. I was like, oh no, don't die, don't fall, don't break a hip.
We're not gonna talk about the fact that he fell. Who cares? He's an old guy. We all know he's gonna fall. He's gonna fall a lot, guys, okay? He's gonna stumble in his speeches. He's gonna fall all over the place. He's not gonna know where he is. He's not gonna know what time it is. This is a dude that's supposed to take a lid on the day at 9 a.m., okay? And then last but not least, I'm gonna get this one, and then we'll go to the comments. China. So North Korea, Russia, and China, all within the span of like 3 days, are just dunking on Biden, okay? And I know you guys probably saw this already because a lot of other channels already talked about this. I know Tim Pool talked about it as well. But Blinken, the Secretary of State, old Blinken, met with China in Anchorage, Alaska. I think they're still meeting yesterday and today, to have a in-person discussion. And China just let everybody know that they don't care about the United States anymore. You're not Mr. Big Man on the block. If you thought you were, you're not. And there were multiple dunks in this affair, and there are probably more dunks that came out today that we haven't heard about yet because it hasn't been covered. But the two noteworthy ones that I want to mention from this first meeting between China officials and American officials was that Chinese diplomats, this is from Yahoo, I'm just quoting from Yahoo story here. Chinese diplomats said the U.S. should focus on its own issues like Black Lives Matter instead of meddling in other people's affairs. So,
Ooh.
Blinken tried to say, like, we're upset about what you did in Hong Kong and, all this. And China just basically like, look, you got your own problems. Why don't you focus on your Black Lives Matter problem before you start to blame other people, which I think is exactly what they said. They said, stop looking to external sources.
Yeah. I mean, we've got so much rampant white supremacy in our country. We need to focus on that and quell that before we can even worry about anybody else's problems. So yeah, I agree.
So we got morally outclassed by the country that's enslaving people and selling organs of human beings, because they dunked on Blinken and they dunked on the U.S. when they said China has told the U.S. to focus on its own human rights issues like Black Lives Matter and not meddle in the country's internal affairs, particularly concerning Hong Kong, Taiwan, and Xinjiang. So that was great. And then the one that I liked the best, however, was when they said this was, I don't know if I'm too young to know if this kind of stuff's been happening for a long time, but they said specifically, let me say here in front of the Chinese side that the United States does not have the qualification to say that it wants to speak to China from a position of strength. That's like some S tier, top tier smack talk. Okay, that's you think you're the big guy on the block? No. We're the big guy on the block. Okay, you aren't coming to this table from a position of power. We're in the position of power. And I don't know if this is significant enough because I'm too young to know if this is kind of language has been used before with other countries, but it feels really bad to me. Like, it feels like this is really embarrassing for America. But again, I'm admitting my own ignorance in this fact that I've just hasn't been on this planet long enough to know if that's a normal thing that China says, but that seems like really bad to me.
Yeah, China definitely kind of Bobby Browned us with that one. Just straight up backhand and having us fly across the room.
Yeah, but here's
all right, stereo. We got.
Okay, yeah, do that one, and then I want to elaborate on this China thing.
Okay.
I just heard today that I was on the Wall Street Bets thing checking it, and there was some folk talking about the like Biden got asked a question and he messed up and he said like, "I'll have to ask my boss" or something.
Oh my God. I mean, on top of all the embarrassment that had from Biden this week for falling on the plane, getting dunked on by North Korea, Russia, and China, he called Harris the president. Did you hear that? He said President Harris on one of his speeches.
We all know. We all know who's running the show. It's not.
Yeah.
It's not Joe Biden. It's all Camel Toe
It's been a
Harris.
rough, really rough week for him. I mean, but I want to go jump back to this Chinese thing because this is very. I think they're giving us a hint. China's giving us a hint. They are saying, with this Black Lives Matter thing, and they said that not even the people in America trust American democracy. So why are you trying to act like the West has some kind of authority in the world? Which is, I'm paraphrasing what they said. If you hear that, and there's a reason why this isn't going to be covered on mainstream media, because if you hear that, it might wake you up for even just a nanosecond, because you might realize, wait a minute, China is specifically pushing on this pressure point of Black Lives Matter and the fact that we don't trust our own democracy. Tell me, what have been the two biggest political issues in the last 4 years? Elections, which is our democracy, and racial issues. Black Lives Matter. So we've talked all about how Russia's interfering with our elections and Russia's sowing discord because they've bought some Facebook ads that put like leftist events right next to right-wing events, and they wanted to cause conflict. They basically, we know that they were trying to sow distrust in the American democracy. China's coming out and saying straight up, dude, we know nobody trusts your democracy. They had that line in the bank. They knew that was an objective on a piece of paper 8 years ago. And now he finally gets to come out and say, yeah, dude, what about nobody trusts your democracy? He's laughing in his head as he's saying that because he knows that him and his crew and all the people in China, however they're influencing American politics, which they are, and American elections, which they are, we get hacked all the time. We get insiders and organizations. We get spies. Look at Swalwell with Fong Fong. Look at in any number of these incidents that are coming from China. They want our trust in the democracy to be low. They know they want Black Lives Matter to be persistent because they know that weakens us. And he's telling us right there, dude, what about your Black Lives Matter problem? What about your democracy problem? They're saying it straight up, and I don't think anybody realized the significance of that because they're telling us right there that this is exactly what they want. They want us to distrust our democracy. They want us to be conflicted with each other. They want Black Lives Matter to be in existence.
Yep, absolutely. They love it because, like you said, it weakens us. It makes us, when we're divided and we're not united, then we're weak and we're no longer the superpower of the world. We're no longer, back in the day, the big stick diplomacy. We're no longer, in charge of the world's democracy anymore because we can't even handle our own. So how can we implement our democracy on other people when we can't even handle what's going on in our own damn country?
China knows that they don't have to send a single plane of troop or nothing like that. They can destroy us economically and socially. They know that, and this is acknowledgement of that. They know that they are destroying us. They said straight up, "You're not coming from a position of power. Look at your Black Lives Matter problem." They know. They've already taken. I think, as far as I'm concerned, they've overtaken us already. We just haven't realized it yet. So,
yeah. Let me play the stereo real quick.
That's what I was thinking. It's like, was it always this way? And I've kind of realized, like, it was, like with all the sort of scandals that have happened over the years with, like Watergate was the first one I ever heard of. But I think it's just, it wasn't, we were unaware of it. And now it's gotten to like just a crazy point where it's just like, it's like 100 now in the world. And we're reaching that like dystopian Orwellian 1984 that was probably like programming in anyway. I don't know whether these things are, I think they kind of put that stuff out there, the predictive programming in the movies or whatever. And it's kind of just a natural mystic thing, the stuff happens. And they kind of like to try and play with that as well and try and control people through that stuff as well. Because some people are into reading it, the natural stuff, and then they can start to like use it as a trigger.
1984 was propaganda too. I love that. It probably is. It's like trained us to recognize, when we're getting brainwashed, but it's actually trying to open us up to being brainwashed somehow. Who knows? I mean, the layers are so deep. Somebody in chat said that Harris isn't even running the show either. Yeah, that's true. Like Osis, even though Biden's calling Harris the president, she's not running it either. She's so inept that we all know there's like just a shadowy group of people behind them that are pulling all the strings, doing all whatever, and Biden is just like this old guy. You know what I was thinking today? How many Xanax pills does Biden's crew have to pop before he goes out and does a live press event, or he goes out and just gives a speech?
Oh, right.
Can you imagine how many times they facepalm?
Oh, yeah.
What's the daily facepalm rate for being on Biden's team? Just all the time, you're just like, oh no, how did he say that? Why did he do
They're
that?
like, no, no, no.
I gotta say, it's
Or
at
they
least
just,
50
yeah.
facepalms per day, or something like that.
Something like that. And I'm sure the same could be said about Trump because, he would put his foot in his mouth all the time. But at least with Trump, he would do it in kind of like a little bit more of a lighthearted and funny way. But because the media is the way they are, they always like flabbergasted and catastrophize whatever he says. So that just makes them facepalm even more because they're like, no, he's not even really even saying that. He's just being funny. But y'all just read his mind and don't even care about what he's actually saying. You just care about like, oh, he was incorrect about this, so blah, 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 blah. It's just attack.
That's right. High ups wanted Trump gone. Yeah, we all know that. Let's see here.
Oh yeah, they hated Trump.
A whole new chapter to the 1984 book. That's right. We're writing a whole new chapter to that. A whole new book in and of itself, really.
I was gonna say we're writing a whole ass new book.
If you don't like it, you ain't black.
George Orwell would be so proud of all of us for writing a new book from 1984.
Well, everything's cyclical. I mean, we're going to go through the 1984 stuff, and then we're going to get to a new version of the 1984 propaganda or whatever mind control that it is.
It's going to be called 2020 propaganda.
2024 or 2084.
Yeah, right.
We'll come back around to it eventually.
All right. All right. One more from Stereo.
But yeah, I really I've decided to take myself out of all this like to the max. Like, I don't really have much. The only thing that I'm wanting to do is kind of like help the fucking unity happen, man. And I know like some people, like you say, are just like total gone with the mental illness, the mind virus. But yeah, like I just think there definitely needs to be soothsayers out there that are getting the unity going again and getting people to wise up. And yeah, for me, that's like getting out of politics. You can't be for one side if you're gonna like try and do that. But it's more just I can't be bothered with that anymore. I'm just really trying to focus on me and my life, and all that stuff is just a distraction. And it's basically like even if you are strong and you've got the filter, it's still taking your attention and wasting your time.
Absolutely, yeah.
Well, that was represented in the data we talked about too. If you guys didn't see, we went through a study earlier in the stream that talks about how consuming media actually does act as a chronic stressor on you, causes psychological and physical damage to you. And it actually disproportionately affects people on the left more than it does on the right. I didn't get to that part of the study because we wanted to jump into the rest of the information first real quick. But that study also does say that it disproportionately affects the left more. So when you combine that with the fact that they're consuming more of the media as well, you're getting to a situation where this is why I say I'm not trying to save people. I'm not doing this stream because I want to try and convince anybody. I don't do these YouTube things because I want to debate and change anyone's mind. That's not what this is, because that is the pinnacle of the distraction. That's exactly what they want you to do, is waste energy on something as futile as trying to change someone's mind who's been conditioned into mental illness over years and years and years. It's not doable, at least not on any kind of a meaningful scale anyway.
Right. I was gonna say, yeah, I started off trying to be like that, like coming in with the white knight syndrome and being like, I'm gonna save people, I'm gonna wake people up. But I realized after spending a lot of time with you, Jeremy, I was like, okay, yeah, you're kind of right. It is kind of like
I took that out of you real quick.
Just stupid and a waste of energy. Yeah, you did. You Bobby Brown that out of me real quick.
Enlightened self-interest, and you got to focus on yourself first. You know, that's a part of the trap. I don't know if it's by construction, by design, by intentionality, but everyone on the left, they have this syndrome where they want to save everyone. They want to save the system. They want to save every single person. You know, minimum wage, rise everybody up. I think that's an aspect of communism. You know, where it's kind of like the ground up revolution. The proletariat rises up. It's all about lifting everybody up. But they have this. It's a trap when you want to try to save everybody, which is impossible. That in and of itself is a trap. You have to get that out of your brain. That savior complex where you're like, oh, I gotta save this guy. I gotta save this guy. Nope. Just focus on yourself, build your family, build your own community by naturally attracting people who are like-minded, not trying to convert people by force into your ideology. That's a massive waste of time.
Mm-hmm.
Is that
Dari in chat brings up a
Yeah, but supposedly they've had these agendas.
Oh, I think I just muted him.
I was going to say Dari.
Go ahead.
Sorry, Diamond. So Dari in chat says, find a happy medium, pay attention, but focus on your personal life. And I think that that's perfect. Yeah, just, stay aware, stay grounded and who you are, but don't try to save everybody. Focus on your small group of people, your family, your close friends that are of like mind, and just work to build that up instead of trying to focus on everybody else that is infected with the mind virus.
Oh, nice. MA says, Jeremy's analogy of jumping in the river stuck with me. It's so easy to fall in there. See, I knew it. See, I got the drawing pad. I wanted to draw a visual for you, and it stuck with her. So that tells you right there that visuals are persuasive. But I think it's a great analogy. There's this fast-flowing river that, as alt-centrists, we're watching everybody float down it. They're stuck in the stream. They can't do anything about it. They actually want to be in the stream. A lot of people have the feeling to jump in and try to save everyone and pull them out. It doesn't work like that. You're just going to get stuck in there anyway. And I think one of the main reasons why I do this stream and we talk about this kind of stuff and we try to describe how you get trapped in here, how people are getting destroyed by this cycle, is because I don't know how, but I've found a way to become immune to it. And probably there's a large portion of that that's due to stoicism, hardening of the mind, things like that. But I consume this stuff quite often, just because I like to know what's going on, and I'm completely at peace. I don't have any kind of anxiety, worry, nothing. I'm completely like a monk in a temple in Bangladesh. Okay, I'm just sitting there with my arms crossed, humming to myself, and I want to try and give you guys that ability too. I don't really know how exactly to do that, but I'm trying to work that out with this stream.
Yep.
Objective observers.
That's why we do this.
Yeah, we want to be objective observers, not participants in the game. That's where the alt-centrism philosophy came from. Go ahead.
All right, we got one in stereo. It's probably Diamond.
When you're on an airplane, the thing that they teach you is to put the oxygen mask on yourself before you apply it to the people that you're with that need assistance. This is kind of the same idea, but helping yourself is considered selfish and helping the world is considered virtuous. And I remember being in school when I was a small child being taught that we had to save the trees and save the whales and all that. And it was very grand, and anything that we did towards those goals was applauded. So I think this is multi-generational brainwashing to teach people that, if you just help yourself, you do a couple sit-ups, that's not very virtuous. So that pull of the applause, I think, is really powerful for some people.
Thank you, Holly. That was a good voice memo you sent us. It's true.
When you combine that with also the fact that most of these people have otherwise completely meaningless lives where they aren't generating any kind of value, and I don't mean value like money. I mean value like actual value, like having a family, having kids. They don't generate any kind of real value in their lives. No impact, no no meaning. Meaning is the word I'm looking for. They don't have any meaning in their lives, so they're more inclined. On top of the fact that they've had that multi-generational kind of brainwashing that you mentioned, they're even more inclined to save the whales and take the straws out of the turtle's nose and all that kind of stuff because they have no meaning in their lives anyway. If they had some kind of meaning in their lives, they would at least have a slight push or pull away from that kind of brainwashing. But they're really in a bad spot because they have the brainwashing plus absolutely no meaning. It's a rough combination.
Yeah, that's like a deadly combination for just being depressed, anxiety ridden, just swelling in the mental
It's all
illness. It
those girls
really
we talked
is.
about last week. We went over that study about how, or not a study, but the data from those hospitals, the medical places where, alcoholic liver damage is up skyrocketing for young women. It shouldn't even be happening in women of that age, but they've been lied to about how, this is how you find meaning in life. Then they don't find it with the lies they've been told. And then they think that they have to, fight the power, fight the patriarchy, fight Trump. And it just leads them further down that black hole of despair.
Yeah, for real. Yeah. Well, I think that some of them, they just want to be stuck in that perpetual mindset. They don't want to get out of it, and
Good
they just
point.
thrive in it. And you can sit there and try to get them out of it all you want, but like Holly said, you should always just worry about yourself. If somebody's stuck in a pit of quicksand, you're not going to freaking jump in there and try to rescue them that way. You're just going to sink. Both of you are just going to sink and die. So instead of jumping in, why don't you just focus on yourself? Like, not saying like let that person die, but focus on yourself and like maybe come up with a more clever way of rescuing them instead of just being like, oh, me save you, jump in and kill myself as well and choke on sand.
Well, see, this is our society's gotten so soft that we've gotten past the point to where we can accept some losses. We do have to let some people die in the quicksand. That's just the reality. We're so far. We're like in this post fairness society where even if you don't even participate in the soccer game, you get a trophy, right? That has led to us having this mindset of everyone needs to be saved. We can't leave anyone behind. But the reality is, to fix the system, there's going to be some percentage of losses. And I mean that figuratively and literally. Some people are going to die in that quicksand. Some people are going to get sucked into the degenerate sexual deviancy lifestyle where they wouldn't have otherwise. Like you, for example, you have a crazy story. If you went to school 5 years after you did, then you probably would have got sucked into that. Some people
Oh
are
yeah,
going
they
to.
probably would have called. They, they probably would have put me on hormones and called me a tranny if I had been in school five years later than I graduated,
Yeah.
because they were already starting to like kind of weasel that kind of stuff into curriculum.
We need to get back to a place where we realize the harshness of reality. We've gotten way past that. It's a very dangerous place that we're in. Ironically, it's a very safe place, but it's a very dangerous place psychologically because we need that harshness to realize what's a feasible version of reality and what's not. It's not feasible to save everybody. It's not feasible to have fairness. There's no such thing as fairness in the world. That's not. I mean, it's just there's nothing more anti-science and anti-nature than fairness.
Right? I mean, you don't see animals in the wild like not killing each other because they're like, oh, I don't want to harm the other animal. I don't want to harm. Like, lions don't sit there and question whether or not should I or should I not kill this antelope or kill this gazelle. No, they're just like, I'm hungry, I need to survive, I'm going, like, I'm gonna go for it. And I do that, and guess what? My whole family, their whole pride survives, their whole family survives because they are just cutthroat about it. They are just like, nope, just going to take what I want and do it, and not give a crap about fairness or equity or equality like us humans are seeming to just want out of life.
The problem is we're gonna find that out the hard way if we don't realize it and change ourselves. We're gonna have a hard reset back to the harsh reality, and whether that's a volcano or an asteroid or a disease, a pandemic, maybe. Does that ring any bells? Maybe an actual pandemic that kills people that aren't obese or 80
I
years old.
mean, I'm kind of just hoping that like Pacific Rim happens and there's going to
That'd be
be a
ideal.
great, yeah, there's going to be just this great cataclysm in the Pacific Ocean that's going to just open up just some monsters, and then we're really going to have to get our crap together when we are having to fight monsters, like real actual monsters.
See, that's the thing, and guys like Jordan Peterson would tell you that we are going to have to fight monsters, not literal monsters, but we will have to fight some dragons. We have to slay some dragons, right? And we're not going to be in the psychological, physical, or societal position to fight the monsters. We've already seen that with the pandemic. Look at how poorly we handled the pandemic. We handled this pandemic so pathetically because we are so weak. We're so fat, and we probably wouldn't even had a pandemic if people weren't so fat, because there would have been so many deaths, and then we would have been able to keep everything open. We wouldn't have lost our economic standing. Trump would have gotten reelected. All this stuff, you could see the impact of being soft right in front of your eyes if you look at how the pandemic happened and how it played out.
Oh yeah, yeah. That pandemic definitely showed a giant weak spot in our society here in the United States. Like, and China just told us, they were like, "Look, y'all got your own problems. Worry about that. You guys got the Black Lives Matter. You guys got your rampant white supremacy. Focus on that. Stop worrying about us. Like, we're beating you. So, nah, 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 nah."
I'm glad that they said that, because it vindicated everything that I've been saying about China this whole time. That they are beating the crap out of us. They are winning the race. They are feeling superior to us right now. Build back better in the right way, though, says Anthony. Yeah. Build back better. Yeah.
China's on cloud nine. China's like, yeah, look at you idiots over here fighting about race and stuff. We're over here, we're open, we're throwing parties, we're all having fun. Even if you're a tourist, unfortunately, you gotta get an anal swab to come to our country. But yeah, they're just laughing at us, and they're taking it all to the bank, yo.
They had a purple hair lady at that meeting with China. At the table with China, they had a purple hair lady. China
Oh my
China
God,
saw
of
that.
course they did.
China saw that, and they were like, "Oh, this is this is over. We got this, guys."
Right?
Josiah says, "When people don't live for anything, they will fail. They will fall for anything that comes. Now they think they're doing something virtuous, even though it's usually based on half truths or lies." I call it the lowest common denominator. These people are the lowest common denominator. They have meaningless, essentially worthless lives, so they pick up on even the smallest, faintest hint of some kind of fake virtue, even though it's not actually there. So, like the white supremacy in Atlanta, it's not actually there, but they think it's there. They need it to be there for their own lives to have value and meaning. So it's existential for them. The white supremacy exists. It's existential that all those black people are attacking the Asians. That's white supremacy, because that's the only value that their life has. They need it to exist. Otherwise, they don't exist.
You're correct. Their whole entire existence is just wrapped up in the social justice warrior nonsense and the virtue signaling, and just being quote unquote woke for the mob.
How does a whale choke on plastic? King Xenomorph asks. I don't know. I don't think they can choke, but they can definitely, if they consume enough of it, I'm sure it could kill them. You know what?
Yeah, I mean, I've heard that like they will find dead whales and they'll like cut open their insides and check out what they've been eating, and there has been like a lot of plastic inside of their stomachs, but that's probably not connected to why they died. They probably died of old age, and it just happened. They just happened to have like a crap ton of plastic that China dumps in the ocean.
2 tons of plastic in their stomach.
But they
that had nothing to do with him dying. No, he's good. He was good.
Yeah, he was good. He probably just got old and died.
Well, see, what the great part is that once because they don't actually operate on any principles, it's all based off of mental illness and building up things that don't exist out of thin air. Their ideas are eventually going to clash. So, for example, when a whale gets an autopsy and its stomach is full of masks or COVID masks, you know what I'm saying? What's going to go through the head of the environmentalist, vegan, leftist, communist when they see it? The whales dying and the turtles choking and the dolphins getting strangled by COVID masks, by PPE, by all this stuff. Just an easy off the top of my head example of how their narratives will clash, and they don't have a resolution for that. They cannot give you a solution to that problem because they need both to exist
Right.
at the same time.
Yeah, they need that. They just like we've been saying, they just need something to just live for, because they don't have any skills, they don't have families, they're not getting married, having children, focusing on themselves, so they just have to focus on all these other things that they have absolutely no control over.
I want to try to wrap up the stream here by saying my kind of closing message here, that we say this stuff. We say they're mentally ill. We know they're mentally ill. We call them retards. We call them mutants, all that stuff. But really, in reality, I do feel bad for them. And I'm not joking. I feel, to think of the value of an individual human life and realize that that person has unlimited potential, and that every single one of those people was an innocent child at some point in their life, but they got twisted by this force into a mindless zombie that doesn't have a real life anymore. They don't have potential. They don't have ambition. They're not going to, they're not going to have a family. They're not going to have kids. They're not going to be productive members of society. Their entire life is going to be racked with mental illness, darkness, as they completely focus on all these unsolvable, nebulous problems, which essentially amounts to what in my mind, is a wasted life. These are all wasted lives. Could have all been normal, healthy, productive, happy people, but they've gotten twisted by the darkness into being just zombies. And I think it's sad.
Yeah, I agree. I agree with you, Jeremy, and I'm sad for them as well, because I've kind of been in their shoes, where all you can kind of focus on is the darkness and all of these unsolvable problems, and doing everything that you can possibly do to try to lift yourself out of it. And I have lifted myself out of the darkness, and that's why I hold on to a little bit of hope that people can do it too, but they have to want to do it. They have to do it themselves. But these people are just so codependent on their mental illness that most of them don't want to. They're happy living in the darkness. They're happy
stubborn. Yep.
living in a world with no light. They're happy living in a world and seeing the world with no light, with no love, with no, none of these amazing things. And like you said, the potential that every person is capable of. They don't believe in themselves so much that they just want to live in that giant swell of just animosity and anger and darkness and evil. And it's sad, because they totally have the potential to get themselves out, but they just want to swim in it. And you know what? I'm going to let them just go ahead, swim in it.
Feels too good to be angry.
Right?
That's the summation of this entire stream. And I hope we painted the picture for you guys that leftism is in and of itself a mental illness. It's perpetuated by mental illness. All the patterns of mental illness are readily visible in every story. So what I would advise you guys to do is maybe just do 5 minutes of research. Pull up a DuckDuckGo search of cognitive distortions, because they're all a little bit different. We just got 10, but there are several more. Just have them in the back of your head, so that when you're reading a headline, when you're seeing Don Lemon talk about a story on the TV, when you're reading a newspaper, whatever it is, that you can recognize those. And you can say, oh, yeah, no, I see what they're trying to do here. It'll be like you can see the code in the Matrix now. You see everything that they're trying to do. It's not about informing you. It's about perpetuating behaviors that put you into a state of mental illness. And most people can't even start to recognize, let alone get themselves out of it. You guys are lucky, because you're the smart ones, and you get to see the code in the Matrix. So hopefully we painted that picture well enough for you guys here today.
Yeah.
Any closing
I hope
thoughts,
we did too.
Delaney?
Well, I mean, it was well, I just want to take a minute to thank you, Jeremy, for hosting this stream and being so grounded and just informing people in the way that you do, because you have a very good way of just kind of doing the hard cut to people without being rude or mean or disingenuous. You genuinely do want people to get out of this funk that we've all been in. But like we've been saying, it's they have to want to do it themselves. So I for one am glad that I get to share this platform with you and be able to have these discussions with you, because a lot of people, our dynamic, people would think oh, straight white male and a lesbian should never get along and should never have anything in common. But here we are, we're we discuss things, and sometimes we'll push back on each other, or we'll agree on a lot of things, but it's good that we have this platform to be able to do this, and I'm very, 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 very honored to be your friend, Jeremy.
Agreed. Likewise. Thank you. Appreciate that. I'm glad to have you here for sure. It's a lot better than sitting here by myself trying to say this. You know what I'm saying? Glad you're here as
Right?
well.
Exactly.
And guys, you know where to find us every week. We're here live on youtube.com/weekly narrative, 7 p.m. Tuesdays and Saturdays. We did a switch up this week because I've got something going on tomorrow. Maybe I'll tell you a story about that later. But find us on all podcast platforms, and every Saturday we are going to go live on stereo. So if you want to join us on there, leave a clip, question, talk to us, drop a question, download the app, follow @Weekly Narrative, and maybe we'll see you next time. For now, we'll see you on Tuesday, guys. Thanks for joining.
Yeah.
Hope you enjoyed it as much as I did.
All right.
Have a great weekend.
Thank you, everybody.
See ya.
All right, everybody. You guys have a good night. Stay safe.
All right, let's see here.